Hey, buddy. You're in the background. Is he gonna give me an issue? Or are we gonna be chill? Alright. Looks like we're gonna be chill. Make sure. What are you doing? Hey, no. Don't chew on that. No, this isn't a toy. Because I'm using it as a toy. Oh, you're gonna get it. Oops. Okay. Hey, I can't put this anywhere. You're just gonna eat it. Because of my enabling. Okay. Let me just double check some stuff. Okay, looks like it's running. It is running live. Well, you bathe yourself, you little nasty rat. Okay. Checking how it looks. Okay, actually, it looks terrible. It looks terrible. On my end, it looks super, like, fuzzy and pixely. But on there, it doesn't look as noticeable. It looks a lot more smooth, which I appreciate that a lot. Okay. This is for my own recollection, so that I hold myself more accountable than I have been for reading. Last time I did this, I was on chapter 3. I finished the econ chapter, and then I said I wanted to take more notes on it, which I did. Let me grab them. I held true, alright? I didn't get lazy. I got very lazy for a while, but I didn't stay lazy. I ended up writing down all the things I wanted to learn from the chapter, and I went by, you can't see it, individually, taking notes throughout the whole chapter. Okay. This was an honest effort. Like, just, yeah. And I also made little cards. So I can, just like, you know. All kinds of stuff. I did not touch the book for like 3 months though. And I just picked it back up. I was like, I need to catch up on my reading goal. I need to read more. I said I was going to, and I'm not. So then I reread chapter 1, the election. Then I reread chapter 2. And I took extensive notes on both of them. And I am not making that up. Oh, just to showcase. Oops. Alright. We got all, like, chapter 1 election. All of that. And then all of these. Yeah, I made a boo-boo there. I was going ham, okay? So, whoever you are, welcome. I'm talking to myself on purpose. Oh, so now I'm gonna do that for chapter 3. We're gonna go crazy on chapter 3. I plan to do it tonight, all of it. All of it. Every last bit. I collapse all these. Okay. I won't be able to have the mic as close just because I have my whole set. I have my computer and my book and my everything. So the mic's going to be a little far away. I trust I'll still be... Here, actually, let's do this. Oh, then you won't be able to see the cat. Yeah, I'll do that. There he is. There you are, dude. Here, guard this stuff. Alright. Chapter 3, the foreign policy. I might take my hat off too. Oh my god, it's getting hot in here. Let me turn the fan on. What am I doing? This is what I wanted. I can't take my hat off. I'm balding. That would be embarrassing. Okay. Oh. Uh-oh. There we go. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I guess I was shoulder to cry on. Alright. One more sip of Wawa. Okay. Oh yeah, what you should know, but don't. Nonpartisan guide. Not as close as you can get. 4th edition. Alright, we're on chapter 3. And this page starts at 75. Oh, jeez. Oh boy. Oh god. This might be a 2-dayer. 118? Okay. This is a dense. Okay. Let's do it. Chapter 3, Foreign Policy. Though the United States was originally isolationist, there has been a steady trend toward international intervention. Isolationism is no longer thought practical by politicians and scholars, but there is some support for it among the general public. Liberal internationalism and realism are two important schools of foreign policy that developed after World War II, as America's global influence increased. Many Americans' views on war and foreign policy are shaped by World War II and or the Vietnam War, which is now widely considered to have been a political and military failure. The first President Bush waged the first Gulf War against Iraq in 1991, but did not depose Saddam Hussein in the interest of maintaining regional security. The United States successfully ousted the Taliban regime in Afghanistan in 2001, but a more recent Taliban resurgence has eroded that victory. President George W. Bush cited 3 reasons for invading Iraq in 2003: to stop Saddam Hussein from using weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, to prevent him from supporting international terrorism, and to liberate oppressed Iraqis. There were no WMDs in Iraq or any substantial links to international terrorism. Why we invaded Iraq is hotly debated. Most agree intelligence failures and the politicization of intelligence are partly to blame. Some of the general public, most of the international community, and many top military intelligence officials objected to plans to invade Iraq. Congress and the media helped convince the public that we should invade Iraq. Neoconservatives believe the United States should proactively support democracy abroad by force if necessary. They were the core supporters of the 2003 Iraq War. The situation in Iraq deteriorated into a violent international conflict, which some call a civil war. The Israel-Palestinian conflict is perhaps the world's most intractable dilemma. Its persistence has damaged and complicated the U.S. position in the Middle East. Whoa, I didn't know there was an IP fucking shit in here. Oh, I started reading this a while ago. This is the debate over how much of a threat Iran poses to U.S. security. Some think that our relationship with Russia, India, Pakistan, China, and North Korea are ultimately more important to the U.S. interest than the conflict in the Middle East. Maybe. Let me jot this stuff down. Okay? I like this. This is going to be fun. I'm having fun. I love spending a whole year on one fucking book. So I had to pick a fucking... What did I do for that? Yeah, okay. I'm just checking formatting issues. Me? I guess I was a shoulder to cry on. Okay. And I wonder if I copied it bar for bar. I'm pretty sure I used my own words. But just in case. Goal of the government is to go to the economy while they replace such as the president. My own words, for the most part. For the most part, my own words. A lot of it was defining and other bullshit, but this would be tough. Okay. Isolationist. But there has been a steady trend toward international intervention, so intervention, isolate. Oh, that's not right. Isolationism is no longer practical thought. Politicians or scholars, switch the wording there a little bit. Though there has been some support for it among the general public. Punlick? No, public. Look at him, he's so cute. He's so adorable. Liberal internationalism and realism are two important schools. Two important schools of foreign policy are liberal internationalism, and realism. After World War II, as America's global influence increased, because we're based as fuck. Now, how did I distinguish between the two? That's how. How did I don't like that. I can't do that. Fuck. I didn't format it that way. I'll do this. Oh, wait. Okay, I could do that. Yeah, I'm just fucking with shit right now. Remove. So I'll just bold the first three. I don't, whatever. Okay, that kind of works actually. I fuck with that. Many Americans' views on war and foreign policy in general are influenced and shaped by World War II and or the Vietnam War. Is to have been a political and military disappointment. Many Americans' view on foreign policy. Did I spell disappointment wrong? There we go. Many Americans' views on war and foreign policy in general are influenced by and shaped by World War II and or the Vietnam War, which is widely considered to have been a political and military disappointment. No, failure, man. Failure fits better. Failure. Aloha Akbar. That's so cool. Bush waged Iraq in 1991, but did not depose Saddam Hussein in the interest of maintaining regional security. The United States. Way to start every sentence with that, dumbass. Successfully. No. I guess. Okay. Successfully ousted the Taliban regime. Ousted. Afghanistan. In 2000. Although a more recent Taliban resurgence has not eroded, decayed that victory. W. Bush cited 3 main reasons for invading Iraq in 2003. To stop Saddam Hussein from using weapons of mass destruction. WMDs. That's not how you spell destruction, dummy. Oh. To prevent him from supporting international terrorism and to liberate oppressed Iraqis. What is wrong with Saddam? A lot, but is it Saddam? It is Saddam. I'm dumb. I'm the problem. It's me. There were no WMDs in Iraq or any substantial links to international terrorism. Why we invaded Iraq is hotly debated still. Most agree that intelligence failures and the politicization intelligence are partly to blame. True. Ideological compromise. Scroll down a little bit. Some of the general public, most of the international community and many top military and intelligence of Iraq. Congress and the media helped convince the public that it was a noble cause to invade Iraq. Neocons believe in nonsense. The United States should proactively support democracy abroad. democracy abroad by force if needed. Core supporters of the 2003 Iraq War. The situation in Iraq Civil War. Okay. That's solid. I like that. Oh, Jesus. The Israel. No. Israel. Palestinian conflict. Perhaps the world's intractable dilemma. The Israel-Palestinian conflict is perhaps the world's most intractable dilemma. Its persistence has damaged and complicated the U.S. position in the Middle East. That's just objectively true. Whether you think we should be there or not, that's just objectively true. Is a debate of a threat Iran poses to U.S. interests and the security. Some think that's not how you spell any of those words. Some think that that's also not how you spell that. Our relationship with Russia, India, Pakistan, China, and North Korea are ultimately more important to U.S. interests. Okay. Four? Okay. Background. Is that a thing I did? No, I didn't do that. Okay. Wait. Oh, I already did that. I'm silly. I'm in a silly, goofy mood. Right? That's what I did? Yeah, I guess. Okay. Here we go. Background to current debates. Foreign policy is a hugely contentious and exceptionally Foreign policy is hugely contentious and exceptionally complicated. America deals with many multi-layered international issues for which there is a rich theoretical and ethical literature, and we have a long history of international engagement all over the world. A true history of American foreign policy would make this book a 30-volume tome, merely unraveling the different missions of the State Department, CIA, and NSA would fill 1,000 pages. Instead, I'm going to present enough information to help you untangle the basic current politics behind American foreign policy. It's important to understand the interest groups involved in foreign policy and their often powerful ideological foundations. It's vital to know something about the specific issues most debated in the Iraq War, the justifications for the invasion, why there was an insurgency, and what America's future course should be. Though I'm not going to go very far into issues we face concerning other nations such as Israel, Iran, Russia, Pakistan, India, China, and North Korea, it's also important to be aware of the status of American foreign policy, or lack thereof, toward these countries. Isolationism and interventionism are two extremes on the continuum of international engagement. While early American foreign policy was very isolationist, there is a discontinuous but clear trend toward intervention throughout our history. The United States began as an international endeavor. Without French military support and Dutch loans, American revolutionaries might never have been able to fight a viable insurrection against England. George Washington himself, however, cautioned against entangling alliances in his farewell address in 1796. He thought the young republic should stay out of foreign affairs. Washington's admonition set the tone of American foreign policy for the next century. The United States stayed out of Europe's Napoleonic wars and only reluctantly went to war with England again in 1812, and even then, all the fighting was in North America. Throughout the 1800s, the United States focused on expanding westward. War with Mexico in 1848 won California in the Southwest. A series of increasingly brutal Indian wars decimated, removed, and eventually isolated Native Americans' populations throughout U.S. territory, allowing European American populations to settle from sea to shining sea. And those seas cannot be underestimated. It was America's geographic isolation from Europe and Asia that allowed the policy for isolationism to exist. From 1823, the Monroe Doctrine shaped American foreign policy, and its ideological power was profound and lasting. Issued by the administration of President James Monroe, the doctrine followed Washington's vision of a neutral national stance, free from major involvement in other nations' foreign or domestic policy. But it also wanted Europe not to interfere in New World affairs. In 1898, the United States invoked the doctrine against Spain, which was accused of oppressing Cuba, one of Spain's last remaining colonies. American expansionist zeal and an alleged Spanish attack on the USS Maine in Havana Harbor led to the Spanish-American War. Winning a swift victory, the United States gained some of its first overseas possessions: Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines. This sudden change in America's global position, combined with an emerging naval power and what was already one of the world's largest economies, necessitated a new approach to foreign policy. In 1901, Theodore Teddy Roosevelt, the first president to envision the United States as an active world power, became president. His Roosevelt corollary to the Monroe Doctrine set the stage for greater American intervention in foreign affairs. Not the colonial European brand, but a uniquely American form that would focus on propping up friendly governments and, if necessary, liberating allied nations. Roosevelt asserted American authority in Latin America and the Caribbean, threatening military action against any outside intrusion into the Western Hemisphere. Roosevelt also developed a strong dislike of colonial administration and what we would call nation building. Today, like many of his era, Roosevelt embraced a central tenet of imperialism, that Western rule would somehow uplift less developed countries. Yet he and many Americans came to believe that such efforts were not worth the costs in American lives and resources. He engineered a speedy end to the occupation of Cuba, handing off the country to a sovereign but friendly regime. In the Philippines, a violent insurgency erupted. Roosevelt advocated withdrawal, but was criticized for the excess of the U.S. counterinsurgency, which included charges that American soldiers committed torture and killed civilians. Remarkably, a century ago, America was debating problems very similar to those we discuss today. Okay, so reel it back a little bit. Catch up on what we just read. So, talked about isolationism, interventionism, briefly. I kind of want to write these down. These are important because I kind of understand the concept of isolationism. You know, it's in the name. You isolate your country. You don't intervene with anything. Right? You just keep to yourself. Interventionism is in the name. You intervene all around the world, whether that be in the cause of imperialism, if you define imperialism as just conquering land alone, or if you count it as spreading ideology like democracy, liberalism, whatever it is. Yeah, it's hard to be. I feel like it's hard to be against interventionism. I mean, because everything works better when everybody is on the same side. So I don't know. Let's get a solid definition of it. Yeah, I'm not finishing this tonight. This is way more than I thought. Let's go with Oxford. Oh, let's check the Wikipedia. Isolationism is a term used to refer to a political philosophy advocating a foreign policy that opposes involvement in political affairs, and especially the wars of other countries. The foreign policy of being against opposing involvement in other being against versus opposing, involvement in political, because like political is pretty broad. You can encompass everything. Political affairs, especially the war countries. Now let me run this through, see if that's a solid definition. Compare it. Definition. Including trade, foreign policy of opposing involvement in political involvement of the foreign policy of imposing involvement in political affairs and wars in other countries, including trade, while focusing solely on domestic affairs. for that. Interventionalism. Oh no, interventionism. Interventionism is... Let's go back to the wiki. Me, I guess I was a shoulder to cry on. Whoa. Whoa. I'm not opposed to cracking some Spotify. Get me in the funky, goofy mood. My Spotify rap is not the best. Let's do... Mind. Intervention, interference of a state or group. A group of states, domestic affairs of another state. The purpose of coercing that state to do something or refrain from doing something. Marriage conducted through military force or economic coercion. So what would be liberal interventionism? Liberal interventionism is a foreign policy doctrine that supports international institutions, open markets, cooperative society, and liberal democracy. At its core, it holds that states should participate in international institutions that uphold rules-based norms, promote liberal democracy, and facilitate cooperation or transitional problems, such as environmental problems, arms control, and public health. Proponents of liberal interventionism argue so interventionalism is different, but the foreign policy of intervening in other countries' domestic affairs via military means or economic coercion. I don't know how you spell coercion. There's no S. On your own. I hope I don't get struck for this. Intervention. I mean, yeah. That's solid. A foreign policy that endorses influencing or altering another country's affairs through military, economic, or political means. Interventionism. Wokey. Policy. Oops. Promoting. Liberal democracy. It's a good song. That's fine. That's good enough. Okay. Discontinuous. Discontinuous? So continuous is like consistent. Discontinuous is not consistent or consistently. No, that'd be consistent. That's weird. Why wouldn't you just say... It's another way of saying like sporadic. Flip-floppy, on off. That's interesting, if true. Without... I'm trying to read this. I'm trying to understand it. You can use that. George Washington himself, however, cautioned against entangling alliances in his farewell address. Entangling alliances? What was that? Complex formal international partnerships that risk drawing a nation into foreign conflicts. The phrase was famously used by Thomas Jefferson in his 1801 inaugural address. The origin was the idea of avoiding permanent alliances was first voiced by George Washington. Gotcha. This book's on top of it sometimes. Other times it's making like the most random mistakes. Entangling alliances. Look at him chilling there. Oh. It's right there. Boing, 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 boing. Oh, they can get up. Does it mention, I'm looking at the Wikipedia, Washington Doctrine of Unstable Alliances. – 80% of these are in the footnotes. I'm good. I'm all right. I'll do it. I'll do it a different way. Yeah, there's no way I'm doing this chapter. It's been a half hour. I've gotten through 2-3 pages. No. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Caution against entangling alliances. Each nation's interaction with others, according to the U.S. policy, the United States should consider external alliances as temporary measures of convenience and freely abandon them with national interest dictate. When national interest dictates, the policy has been cited as a rare example of an explicit endorsement of what in international relations is known as renversement des alliances, reversal of alliances, a state abandoning an ally for an alliance with a recent enemy, sometimes against the former ally. The idea of being cautious when forming complex alliances with other countries because of the risk of being dragged into conflict. I think that's a solid one. That's my general understanding. Washington's admonition. Napoleonic. That's interesting. So it was a geographical location and even like facilitated the possibility for isolationism to even be a feasible concept. That's interesting. I like that. I fucks with it. I think at 11 I'll call it quits. Ugh. Out of trace, in your face. Um, hmm. European colonialism. European colonialism. The phenomenon of colonization is one that occurred around the globe across time. Various ancient and medieval polities established colonies such as kind of crazy, but right? Am I reading that right? Okay. Policy position that any intervention by a foreign power in the Americas' political affairs is considered a hostile action against the U.S. and that the U.S. will not intervene with European affairs. Oopsies. Didn't mean to do that. "1898, the U.S. accused Spain of violating a clause." Right? Am I right on that? American expansionist zeal. What is zeal again? I used to say that a lot when I was younger. Enthusiastic devotion. Spanish American War. Cuba, Rico, Roosevelt Corollary. Whoa, that's not what I want. Yeah, wait a minute. The United States Roosevelt Colorado was an addition to the Monroe Doctrine articulated by President. Largely as a consequence of the Venezuelan crisis of 1902-19. Sorry if this is boring. Mixing in research with it. So that I really soak it in. Alright, that's 11 o'clock. I'm clocking out my shift. I'm on page 77 and I started on page 74. So we almost got 3 pages. Alright. Let me check actually. What are the longest chapters and what are the shortest chapters? Okay, let's see. Alright. So the first chapter is 34 pages. Chapter 1, 33. We'll say 33. 33. Chapter 2, 74 minus 40 pages. So that was 40. Chapter 3 is 2 minus 74. 44 pages, so a little bit longer. Chapter 4 is 142 minus 1. Oops. $24 pages? No, that can't be right. It is 24 pages. Healthcare is a... No, the military is a relatively short one. 24. Okay. Chapter 5. $25 pages. Yo, these start getting short. Maybe I'm getting through the bulky ass ones right now. Fuck. Damn, 28 pages? What are these the chonkers? Am I getting fucked by the chonkers right now? Oh. That one looks pretty brutal. Chapter 7. I'm so confused. $195. Wait, what is... I don't know. 20, 20, 20, 20. Oh, yeah, let's check that one. 255 minus 219. 36 pages. That's not bad. It looks like the bulkiest ones. Yeah. The bulkiest are the first 3 chapters. After that, it's like 20 to 30 pages. But, like, this current chapter is the longest one. So, okay. Content with that. Solid amount of notes. I can rest easily with that. Alright. Thank you for watching if you did. Much love. Many kisses. Wear a condom. Good night.